Hello everyone, and welcome to this intro to Python. Today we're going to learn some of the key concepts in the Python programming language, and indeed any programming language. A prerequisite of this is that you have Python installed, but don't worry if you don't. These slides, along with the speaker notes, will be available so you can go through this at your own pace if needs be. We'll start with the building blocks of how you will store information in your program, variables. Variables are pieces of code in your app that you name. You define them by using an equals sign. Integers are a type of variable that is any whole number, i.e. no decimal part. Strings, meanwhile, are a collection of letters, normally a sentence. Sometimes you may want to convert a string to an integer and vice versa. This can be done by casting. You can convert a variable to a different type. In this case, we are converting the string 4 to an integer 4, so it can be added to another integer. Three key operations you can do are addition, multiplication, and division. In Python, we use a plus sign, an asterisk, and a forward slash to represent these operations. We can also use the addition operation on strings to combine them. This could be useful if we wanted to add a calculated value to a predefined message. Notice how we are using a different variable name to before, otherwise we would be overriding the previous value with the new value. Now let's see how to receive input. We can use the input method, and to output information to the user we can use the print method. Now onto functions. They are essentially pieces of code that can be called from your main code and they return a value. You can use the def keyword, short for define, to create a function. The parameters, what you are giving the function, can be defined in parentheses. Saying what type of parameter is and what the function returns is not necessary, but it is useful so that if someone else reads the function, they can easily tell what to give it and what to expect back. The return keyword is used to return a value. For instance, in this example, we use addition on the strings to combine them with the input of the user's name and age. Note that we can also cast integers into strings with the str function. Here we see a guessing game. We use the random library. A library is just a collection of functions that you can use in your code to generate a random integer between 1 and 99. A while loop will execute the code indented below as long as the condition after it is equal to true. In this case, the code below will continuously execute because true is always equal to true. You can also use a variable set to true, and when you want the loop to stop, e.g. after a certain number of loops, you could set the variable to false. Within this loop, we are using if-else statements. These will check a condition, here if guess is smaller than or bigger than the number, and execute the code indented underneath the condition that is met. At the end, since guess is neither smaller nor larger than the number, it must be equal to the number. In this case, we want to stop the loop and thus the program, which we can do with the break keyword. This stops or breaks the loop. Indentation is very important in Python to define which lines are contained within which loops, branches or if statements, or functions the code is in. Otherwise, your code will not run at all due to Python not knowing what the line belongs to. Essentially, always check your indentation. A for loop is a different type of loop. This will execute the code below for each item in an array or range. An array is a collection of data, and it is recommended to make it the same type. To create a for loop, we use the for and in loop to create a variable called name, which is set to each item in the names array. We can then use this name in the code below. Overall, this code returns the names Bob and Sarah on different lines. We also use a different syntax here to insert variables into a string. We define the section with some curly braces within the string, then call the format method, passing in what the value should be. In this case, the current name we are at in the loop. The final key concept for this introduction to Python is dictionaries. These are pairs of keys and values. Think of them as a literal dictionary, with keys being the word itself and values being the definition. You define them with curly braces, as shown in the example, by the array of dictionaries representing a leaderboard. We can then loop over the array and use our formatting to insert the variables in an easy-to-read way. This time we specify a name for each placeholder to make the code more readable. For the points, we specify we want it to 1 decimal place. We could change this to a 2 to have it to be to 2 decimal places. Notice also our casting of init to a float to add to the score. Technically, this isn't necessary, as Python can automatically cast for us in most situations, including some of the previous examples. That's the end of this intro to Python. Thank you for listening.